trying to be great obviously comes with great risk, and Canelo's certainly going to face one this Saturday night in Dmitry Bivol. You know, Bivol is the real deal. No question about that. Multiple-time gold medal winner in the amateurs. He's carried that success over to the professional ranks as well. Undefeated. He's barely needed to get out of second gear in most of his fights as well. You know, wobbled just the once against one of the other champions in this division, Joe Smith Jr. But, you know, Smith hits like a Mack truck in fairness, and Bivol still went on to win that fight fairly convincingly. So, as I said, these 175, Canelo's moved to a new weight class, even though he technically fought here before against Sergey Kovalev. He's stepping up, you know, for the first time effectively. And these 175 boys don't mess around. So don't confuse this with what Canelo done before with the 168 weight class. You know, those guys are trying to break 100-meter dash records or in the outside of the ring, trying to get away from Canelo's power. This won't be these guys. You know, Artur Beterbiev, Joe Smith Jr. and so on, and this, you know, champions in this weight class. They would love to have a firefight with Canelo in there. But what he's going to face this Saturday night against Bivol is slightly different. You know, Bivol can bang, there's no doubt about that. But his game is centered around more foot speed and range. You know, Bivol moves in and out of range tremendously well, uses that space then to fire off his own shots. He's not one-dimensional with his punch selection either. Andre Ward did a fantastic breakdown of his fight style in the lead up to the Sullivan-Barrera fight. And, you know, Ward was extremely impressed with how Bivol, you know, breaks down his opponents from the outside, picks his shots incredibly well when he's got them lined up. And, you know, he's just so fluid in there, the way he can move in and out. And, you know, what Bivol brings into play along with that movement, you know, is his punch selection, as you said. You know, this won't be Callum Smith or Caleb Plant using movement just to try and survive. This is movement based on the goal of getting himself into a good enough position to fire off his own power shots. So, you know, Canelo's brought in former 175-pound champ Alexander Gvozdyk into camp to try and offset that dynamic. Gvozdyk was a very high-level technical champion himself at this weight, used like a lot of the same movement that Bivol does. Gvozdyk arguably a much better lateral mover than Bivol as well. So some videos have emerged over the last couple of weeks. Gvozdyk is jumping in and out of range, very similar how Bivol would do, and Canelo's trying to time him with a right hook to the body, which is interesting, seeing as the left is the dominant punch of Canelo. So that move alone could be key here. Might catch Bivol off guard at a certain point. And if Bivol does have one kind of glaring weakness in there, he can sometimes be a little bit guilty of getting predictable. But, you know, with that said, this is the biggest fight of Bivol's career. He's not going to switch off in there. He's been sparring the likes of Israel Madrimov in camp, a name, you know, you need to be aware of. This guy's going to be a champ within the next 18 months. So I'm going to take a piece of the plus 700. Big price there on offer for Bivol to win this fight on points. I think those odds are just far too wide. This will be a competitive fight, and we're getting the much better mover on Saturday. We're getting the busier fighter. Bivol throws a ton of shots in there. So any slow rounds on Saturday, he'll pick them up. And, you know, I know people are going to say quickly, you'll never get a decision go your way against the likes of Canelo. But this is a completely different visual dynamic. You know, what we saw against Triple G. Triple G was the big favourite going into that fight against Canelo. He was the guy meant to put a hurting on Canelo. That's not the case this weekend. Most people, like yourself, Prez, don't even know who Bivol is. So when he shows up here and gives Canelo a hard time, that visual dynamic of seeing Canelo finally get tested, that might influence the decision here. So I'm going to take Dmitry Bivol to win on points this weekend, plus 700. I think that's an absolutely massive price, and something I'll personally be on for Saturday.